Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Elizibar. We're going to talk about this book, which means I need to get all this other stuff, which is my current reading list, out of the way. Um, it's kind of crazy how much stuff I need to get around to reading. Um, you know, all these books, you'd think, the whole house, I could have enough room for all this stuff. Now, this book is interesting. I liked it in spite of what I thought I was going to do. I thought I wasn't going to like it. I thought, I don't know. And the reason for that was, let's look at the back. I mean, that's pretty slick, right? Yeah, like the planet silhouette stuff. Anyway, the reason is I probably own one or two of the prequels, but I've never read them. And you're like, why didn't you read them? So I have no idea how closely this follows the House of Atreides prequel, but it does very much sit in kind of that Dune universe. There's a lot of characters being introduced, a lot of schemes, a lot of plots, lots of stuff happening. And I never read the prequels because it felt weird to me. Christopher Tolkien has spent just so much time carefully curating his dad's work. Whereas Brian Herbert has churned out, with Kevin J. Anderson, how many novels? I mean, there was the Butlerian Jihad, like 3 or 4 House Whatever prequels. There's a bunch of sequels. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is a lot of Dune out there. And when it was just like 1 or 2 books, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then there were more and more and more and more. And I kind of read the synopsis of some of that stuff on uh, Wikipedia, whether that counts as being good or not. And it kind of turned me off from the whole concept. Now, when we open up here, this isn't the first page, but it's the second and third page. And it's a great 2-page spread. I kind of wish, like, the design of the ornithopters. I think they're supposed to be thopters anyway. They don't really look like it. But I kind of wish that they had looked just like the thopters from the David Lynch movie. Like, that movie had spectacular design work. I don't care who you are. That movie looked good. And they're flying out to inspect the spice factory. And this is the Baron Harkonnen from the original Dune story as a much younger man. He's not like super huge. He's not covered in boils and diseases and stuff. He's probably still like cruel and inhuman, but hey, he's a Harkonnen. That's what they're supposed to be. And stuff happens. Like immediately we get like a little taste of Dune action. The book doesn't wait. The book presents us with a world, Dune, Arrakis, the spice planet. And this review is kind of assuming you know something about Dune. Like maybe I need to step back, but then we go to like the Imperial Court and we meet more nobles. We meet the current Emperor. We meet the Duke of Ix. We meet the one, Kynes, the Imperial planetologist that gets sent to Arrakis to understand the natural life cycle. So I guess I should explain the setting a little bit. Dune is set in the future. There's no advanced computing technology because in the Butlerian Jihad, people overthrew the machines. And the original telling of that from the Dune Encyclopedia and the uh, Dune books themselves, it was because people were misusing the machines to control other people. That kind of gets muddled up a little bit, from what I understand, in the actual Butlerian Jihad book, and that kind of sets the tone. They actually overthrow machine gods at that point, basically. But that sets the tone for everything that happens afterwards. So you have a world where people have been trained into specialist roles so that they can fulfill the duties that computers would do. So you have mentats, people who can think like computers. Uh, it's spoiler what's on Ix. Like, there's all sorts of cool stuff like that. Guild navigators are people who can do the mathematics to, with their mind, move ships through space. So they do that by warping space and going from point A to point B instantaneously. Really cool, high concept setting for all kinds of fun adventures. Now, Dune itself is a tale of politics, A recurring phrase I think is like wheels within wheels, plans within plans, and that's really how it rolls. And you have the original Dune, which is all about the rise of House Atreides. As well, that's a spoiler. It's a good story. If you haven't read it, you should probably read it. Then you get like the new emperor and his plan, which sets like 1,000 years of history in motion. Like there's just all kinds of real high concept, crazy stuff in those books. They do kind of go down in quality a little bit as you get deeper into the series, but I think that's also kind of universal in fiction. All right, we've talked enough about the setting. So yeah, Arrakis is where the spice comes from. The spice makes a lot of those superhuman abilities, the thinking, possible. Spice also helps with longevity. Like it's just a great all-around thing. It's like coffee, except it's a narcotic. Actually, I don't know if spice was ever described as having like narcotic-like properties, but anyway, they get it from the sand. So there are actually some kind of organisms in the sand that produce the spice. The spice harvesters pick it up. It gets flown back to wherever it's supposed to go. They refine it. They sell it. Everybody makes huge, huge profits. Except when bad things happen. And there's lots of bad things that can happen. Now back over here, we got the current emperor. This is not the emperor from the Dune novel. This is his predecessor. We actually meet the emperor from the Dune novel. We meet like the Lord of Ix over here. He's a little haughty. Because he knows he's got the Landsrad like backing him up. We meet more noblemen. This is on Caladan. So these are actually the Atreides. So there's the current Duke and there's his son, Duke Leto, who is the Duke at the start of the novel. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not even showing it. So there's the current Duke. There's the future Duke Leto, who's the Duke in the first book. It's great stuff. They're busy doing things. His dad throws him a party because he's, grown up and they're sending him off to Ix to learn. I kind of skipped over a whole bunch of stuff. Hold on. Where was the stuff with the future Emperor, Shaddam? Well, somewhere in here, we also meet the future Emperor Shaddam IV and his buddy, and they conspire to do stuff. So we've got danger over on Arrakis. We've got the future Duke of House Atreides getting sent off somewhere. There's some kind of shenanigans on Ix. We have trouble in the Imperial Court. Like, we've just spun off a whole bunch of plot threads. And it all feels like it's going to come together really well. So maybe, if this is based on the novel, maybe I have greatly underestimated how much I would have enjoyed reading the book, and maybe I need to go reread the novel. But this I shouldn't say graphic novel. This first issue of this comic series turned out to be absolutely fabulous. I enjoyed it a whole heck of a lot. More than I thought I would. Man, when I read this, when I saw this, and I'm like, I bet the art's no good. And then I actually picked it up off the shelf and I looked and I'm like, I like the art. In fact, I didn't even talk about the art that much, but I really like the way the book looks. The colors are luscious, they fit the mood everywhere you go. The line art is solid. Page layouts. I don't know. I think the page layouts worked pretty well, but honestly, the book was so much fun to read, I didn't have time to analyze the page layout. So I think that speaks pretty well for the book. So you should definitely check this out. Like if you're into Dune, I think this is actually a pretty fun, pretty interesting little thing. And it is a do recommend. It's from Boom, and it costs, according to the back cover of this, $4.99. It's got a nice rugged cardstock cover. So the book will probably take a little bit of handling before any kind of damage shows up, which is always nice. You take care of yourself. You have a great day, great night, great whatever you got going on. Sure hope to see you again next time. Until then, bye bye.